Well, we are inching closer toward the end of April. Yesterday it was announced that the stay-at-home order is going to continue on through May. Now, I've read a couple of articles that said that may be altered. I think there's some lawsuits and all of that. I don't know what's going to happen. It's just totally uncertain what our future holds. I sure miss gathering with you. I miss our assemblies. If you read our email yesterday, I sent out and boy, I just miss meeting with you, but we do continue our Bible studies. We finished up our series on Sunday mornings on worry, why worry, and anxiety. I want to continue that thought in these Bible studies. I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. We're all worried a little bit. We're all uncertain about the future. Now on Sundays, we continue the thought, but the theme has changed to He's still got the whole world in His hands. He's still in control. And that's really what we've been talking about in these weekend little devotionals. I want you to get a Bible if you can. And while you're looking for that or getting it out, let me start telling you this story. You've heard it before, but maybe not with this spin on it. It's about a judge. Oh, the judge owned a gated mansion out in the Hamptons. Oh, it was sweet. He had it made. He had it all. He was a crook. His mother knew it. His priest knew it. God knew it. The judge couldn't care less, though. He never gave God a second thought. He never gave an honest person a second chance. According to Jesus, this judge was a scoundrel. He didn't have much in the way of positivity going for him. He certainly didn't care about the widow. We're going to call her Ethel. She had a homely look to her. Her hair tied up in a bun, plaid dress. If the judge was a Cadillac, Ethel was a clunker. But for an old clunker, she had a lot of horsepower. She was determined to escape a certain adversary. We don't know what. We don't know who. We don't know the situation. Was it a bill collector? An angry landlord? Someone who had turned against her? That's all we know. Someone had resolved to take her to the cleaners. She pleaded her case. She begged for justice. No luck. She exhausted every possible solution. No avail. Every morning when he stepped out of his limo, there Ethel stood on the courthouse sidewalk. When he exited his chambers, Ethel was waiting in the hallway. At Giovanni's, where the judge had lunch, she approached his table. Just a few minutes of your time, please. How she got past the maitre d', the judge never knew. Ethel even sat in the front row of the courtroom during trials, holding up a cardboard sign that read, "Can you help me?" Even on Saturday, she tapped him on the shoulder as he walked into the theater. "Pardon me, sir. Do you have just a minute? I need help." Ethel always annoyed the judge's wife, and she hounded the judge's secretary. She was persistent. In fact, Luke 18 and verse 4 says, for a while, the judge refused to help her. Well, one day, when they said the coast was clear, he dashed from his office to his limo. He jumps in the back seat, only to be confronted by Ethel. He took one look at her and sighed. "Lady, you don't get it, do you? Just a small favor, please." Holding her thumb a quarter inch from her index finger. "Just a small one. That's all I need. I just need a little help." He growled through clenched teeth. "Anything to be rid of you. What do you want?" And she spilled out a story that included the words widow and broke. "What do you want?" That's what he's asking. She spills out this story. The judge stared out the car window. She's pleading for intervention. When she finally pauses to take a breath, he waves her silent, tired of hearing it, but she says, "Will you help, please?" "I will help on one condition. Anything. You get out of my life." "Oh, yes, I promise," Ethel said. And she was beaming. She jumped out of the car, danced a jig on the sidewalk, and the dishonest judge rode away grumbling. Now that's a parable of contrast, not comparison. The judge grumbles and complains. And it says in beginning with verse 7, yet even he rendered a just decision in the end. So don't you think God will surely give justice to his chosen people who cry out to him day and night? It goes on to say, I tell you, he will grant justice to them quickly. Well, God is not the reluctant judge in this story. He just isn't. And you are not the widow. That's not the point of the story. The widow in the story is at the bottom of the pecking order. She has nowhere to turn. But as a child of the King, you're at the front of the line. You are at any moment and have the ability to turn to God and ask for help, and he listens and he answers. Now, he may not answer the way you want, and he may not answer as quickly as you want, but he's listening and he cares and he's working on the situation. He is still in control. He still has the whole world in his hands, and you are right next to him. And for that reason, the Apostle Paul says in Philippians 4 and verse 6, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. Oh, do you remember what Jesus said to the blind man? He says the same thing to us. Luke 18 and verse 41, what do you want me to do for you? That's what he says to us too. One would think the answer would be obvious, especially if you're talking to a blind man. When a sightless man requests Jesus' help, isn't it obvious? Isn't it apparent what he needs? Yet Jesus wants to hear the man articulate his specific requests. He wants the same from us. Why? Well, number one, a specific prayer is a serious prayer. If I say to you, do you mind if I come by your house sometime? You might say, sure, and not think much of it, because you don't know when. There's no specifics. You may not take me that seriously. But what if I said, hey, do you mind if I come by your house in 10 minutes? Or tonight at 7? Or tomorrow at 6? Well, you're going to take it seriously. There are specifics there. You know the details, and you're going to take care and make preparation right away. So number one, a specific prayer is a serious prayer. And number two, specific prayer is an opportunity for us to see God at work. When we see him respond in specific ways to specific requests, our faith grows. The book of Genesis relates the wonderful prayer of Abraham's servant. The book of Genesis tells us, Abraham is looking for a mate for his nephew. He wants to find a mate for someone else, but he's sending his servant back to Mesopotamia, to his homeland, to find a mate. And the servant prays this specific prayer, Genesis 24, beginning with verse 12. O Lord God, my master of Abraham, please give me success today and show unfailing love to my master Abraham. See, I am standing here beside this spring, and the young women of the town are coming out to draw water. This is my request. I will ask one of them, please give me a drink from your jug. If she says, yes, have a drink, and I will water your camels too, let her be the one you've selected as Isaac's wife. This is how I will know that you have shown unfailing love to my master. I said it was for his nephew. It was for his son Isaac, wasn't it? But the servant is praying, and he's praying specific prayers. God, if this happens, then I'll know you've answered. I'll know this is the right way. I'll know this is the one. And when you see God answering specific prayer requests, what happens to your faith? Well, you grow. Could the servant have been any more detailed? If she says, sure, you can have a drink out of my water jug and I'll water your camels too. I mean, that's a pretty specific prayer. He asks for success in his endeavor, and he asked for details to be revealed. Well, I'm not endorsing that you go demanding that God do things. I don't think that's what this servant was doing. He was simply asking God, show me in detail what you want, who it is that you have in mind for Isaac. Well, I'm not suggesting the power of prayer resides in chanting the right formula or quoting some secret code either. I'm simply saying pray in specific. God knows you're serious when you pray specifics. On my good days, I begin my morning with a cup of coffee and a conversation with God, and I look ahead into the day and I make requests. I ask that God be specific in showing me His will, His way, what He wants me to do. 1 Peter 5:7 says, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares. Well, I remember when I was in high school, I did a good job of casting my problems on a high school algebra teacher. Fortunately, I had a wonderful, patient teacher. I wore a trail into the floor between his desk and mine. And every time I had a question, I would approach his desk and remind him, you remember how you said you wanted to help? And you promised you would help. And when he said yes, there was instant gratification and relief kicked in. We'll do the same with God. God has promised to help. So ask. Take your problem to Him. Remind Him even. Be specific. You said you wanted to help. You said I could pour my anxieties out on you. Well, here they are. Would you help? The Old Testament prophet Isaiah said, put the Lord in remembrance of His promises. Keep not silence. Isaiah 62 and verse 6. That's an amplified version. God told Isaiah, put me in remembrance. Let us contend together. Isaiah 43:26. You said you would lead me through the valley of the shadow of death. Remember the 23rd Psalm? You said you would lead me to still waters. You said you would never leave me nor forsake me. Hebrews 13 and verse 5. Find a promise that fits your problem. Find a promise that fits your anxieties and pray around it. These prayers of faith touch the heart of God, I believe, and activate the angels of heaven. Prayer, this is Ephesians 6:18 from the Message version. Prayer is essential in this ongoing warfare. Pray hard and long. Pray for your brothers and sisters. Now, the path to peace is paved with prayer. Less anxiety, more supplication, fewer anxious thoughts, more prayer-filled thoughts. As you pray, the peace of God will guard your heart. It will guard your mind. And in the end, what could be better? So spend some time in Bible study and prayer. He's still got the whole world in His hands. We'll be talking about that on Sunday. See you then.